Hello, welcome to Shredderettes. My name is Michelle, and today I am going to be talking about Mistborn, The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. Okay, so I'm going to divide this into two parts, one shorter, one longer. First part is going to be for the people who want to find out what this book is about, and the second part is going to be for the people who already read, and I'm going to be discussing what happens in the book and what I thought of it. So if you haven't read the book, I definitely recommend reading this book because I loved it. Especially if you want like a kick-ass adventure kind of novel series. Well, I haven't read the full series yet. I only read the first book, but I'm definitely going to finish it sometime soon. If you want a book that's full of action and adventure and magic and all that fun stuff, this book. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you what it's about. There are two main protagonists, although it's third person and it goes into many people's thoughts. It's mostly focused on Vin, 16-year-old girl who is a street urchin. She's a thief. She's very poor. She's a ska, and she had an abusive brother, and she has this little power thing called luck that she uses on people, and it allows her to manipulate their emotions. The second main character is Kelsier. Kelsier is a Mistborn, full-out Allomancer. He has full-out Mistborn powers, and he uses metals to help him see better in the dark, become stronger, and all that fun stuff. So it starts off with a pretty slow prologue, and you have no idea what's going on. It talks about burning tin, burning pewter, and you're like, I don't know what's going on. So this prologue was a little difficult for me to read, but then once it starts getting into the action, the beginning has a lot of world building going on, so it's kind of hard to make world building very easy to read because you just have to wrap your mind around the world and understand it. But once you do that, you are right into the book. Loved it. This book is set in this empire called the Final Empire. I think it's called the Final Empire. There are different classes. There's the ska, which are the slaves, the lowest class. They get beaten by their lords, especially the plantation ska. They get really mistreated by their lords, who are noblemen. That's the higher level. There's a huge gap between the noblemen and the ska, and there's nothing in between. And on the very top of that hierarchy of nobility is the Lord Ruler, and he is this psycho ruler who is cruel. He keeps his empire, the people of his empire, in fear. He just has this aura that's just depression and just sadness, and it's horrible to live in this empire. So read this book. I've told you a little bit about it, so this will make the world building easier for you. So go read it. Bye. Come back to me. Subscribe. Okay, hello. Let's get into the details. So I've already talked a little bit about this world. There's different classes. The ska. Everybody thinks that there's actually a physical difference between the ska and the nobility. The nobility has allomantic powers. Allomantic powers is the ability to use metal to get powers out of it. There are two kinds of allomancers. There's the Mistings, and then there's the Mistborns. The Mistings can only burn one kind of metal, so they only have one power. And there are 8 different metals that are the basic metals of allomancy. Iron allows you to pull metal that's outside of you to you. Steel, you push metal away from you. Tin enhances your senses, so it allows you to see better, hear better. Pewter makes you stronger. So you can run for a long period of time, you can throw things. Brass and zinc are external mental metals. You can affect the mental state of a person by soothing or raging their emotions. Copper hides your allomancy so that other allomancers around you can't sense that you're using this magic. Bronze is what other allomancers use to find source of allomancy, and that is what inquisitors use with their little like eyes, their creepy eyes, to find allomancers that they're going to kill afterwards. There's also a different kind of magic that the terrace man, such as Sazed, or as we find out at the end, Lord Ruler, uses. Feruchemy is kind of the opposite of allomancy. It's storing your energy or memories or practically anything into metal, and you can retrieve it as long as you're wearing metal. That's why a lot of terrace men wear earrings and bracelets and all that fun stuff. Sazed stores religions and legends and stories. He's called a keeper, and Lord Ruler hunts the keepers because he's afraid of them, and he wants to keep the empire under control, and he's afraid that the keepers can influence them to start a riot. But I mean, he's practically invincible, or so we think. Luthadel is the capital city of the final empire. It's dirty, full of ash from the ash mounds that are constantly erupting. It's raining ashes all the time. The sun is red, not bright. It's never bright outside. Plants are not green, they're brown. And when Kelsier mentions to Vin that plants should be green, she's like, he's crazy. Because she thinks he's like completely crazy at the beginning of the book. Then she realizes that there is a little sense to what Kelsier is saying. In Luthadel, the nobility are going to their little balls and their little dinners every single night. And when Vin infiltrates the nobility, she has to go to their little balls, and she's like, ooh, but then she actually starts to enjoy them. But you know, maybe it's because of Elend, you know. Let's talk about Vin. Vin is probably the main character, including Kelsier, because she is the one who goes through gigantic character development. You don't even recognize her at the end of the story compared to the one at the beginning. At the beginning of the story, she's this completely like quiet, scared thief. She doesn't trust anybody. She barely even talks. She lurks in the shadows all the time. She's in a thieving crew that is led by this guy named Kimon, and he beats her. Her brother Reen abused her, both mentally and physically. Reen constantly told her that she can't trust anybody, and that's why she has so much trouble trusting Kelsier and his crew. But towards the end of the book, she does trust them. Like I said, character development. When she uses her soothing on an obligator of a high rank, she doesn't even know that it's magic and that it's forbidden. They send an inquisitor on her, but luckily she'd been spotted by Kelsier's brother Marsh before. They recruit her to their little thieving crew, with which they plan to overthrow the empire with Yen and his Ska rebellion. Soon after, Kelsier and Vin find out that Vin is a really strong allomancer. They start trying to get her cleaned up, and they even give her her own terrace man. His name is Sazed. A nobleman named Lord Renew helps the crew infiltrate the nobility, and he buys them weapons. Lord Renew isn't actually Lord Renew. He's this creature called a Kandra. Kandra can actually eat a dead body and become them. Basically, Lord Renew got killed and got replaced with a Kandra. Ta-da! Vin ends up infiltrating the nobility by pretending to be Lord Renew's niece, Valette Renew. At the ball, she is just sitting there by herself. Nobody's really paying attention to her because she's new at her first ball. She's just eating, and then Sazed goes to his servant's dinner, and she's just sitting there like, oh, okay, what do I do? she sees a little balcony in the shadows. And of course she has to go there. She just has to go there. She goes up there, even though Suzette tells her to stay there. And she's just standing there. And all of a sudden this guy comes up to her. And there comes Ellen, and he's like, "Oh, okay, well, you have intruded upon my reading spot." And she's like, "Well, why are you reading during the balls? You're supposed to be dancing." And he's like, "Oh, I'm not a fan of dancing." We find out that Ellen is not very happy with the way Scott are treated in the Final Empire. He thinks that the ways of the Empire should change. Vin and Ellen end up having feelings for each other. Woo! But that's not until a little later. Vin is really irritated with him. Well, on the second ball, because he comes and sits down next to her with his like huge pile of books. But in the books, she notices that one of them is not what it says on the cover, and it's criticizing Lord Ruler's rule. This is like my favorite part of the book, and this is when Vin starts getting a little more sneaky, quirky, you know. She's like, "Oh yeah, you should know all the work I did," and then she's like, "So, I told him you were simply showing me the ways of the court, kind of like an older brother." And Ellen goes, "Older brother?" And she's like, "Oh, much older. I mean, you've got to be at least twice my age." And Vin is 16. And then Ellen goes, "Twice your Valette. I'm 21. Unless you're a very mature 10-year-old, I'm nowhere near twice your age." And then Vin goes, "Well, I've never been quite good at math." She's there not only to spy, but to also spread rumors to all the different houses, to make them fight each other. So he thinks that she's a spy from another house, and he breaks up with her and all that fun stuff. Right now I want to talk about Kelsier's crew. Dachshund, Breeze, Ham, Clubs, Spook. I just love them all. They're a hilarious crew. Here's a little funny interaction that they have. "I don't know," Kelsier said. "Breeze would make a pretty good minister of sanitation." And then Breeze says, "Honestly, I don't see why I consistently prove to be the target of you people's humor. Why must you choose the only dignified person in this crew as the butt of your mockery?" And then Ham says, "Because, my dear man, you are by far the best butt we have." And then they all like start cracking up, and Breeze is like, "It's not funny." Spook. His full name is Lestiburn, and he's 15, and he has a crush on Vin, and he actually gives her his handkerchief to show her that he wants to court her. But she refuses because Ellen. He has this strange accent where you can't understand anything that he says, but he tries to speak normal, but you still can't understand him. And everybody's like, "What are you saying?" But there's this one moment where they all try to confuse Breeze. They're always like to Breeze. And they all start trying to speak with their Spook's accent. It's just really funny. At the end of the book, Yeden, the leader of the army, does a really stupid thing. He leads the army out to attack one of the guards, and they all get massacred. So Kelsier has to like start making new plans. Basically, what happens at the end is that Kelsier kills an Inquisitor by chopping his head off, and Marsh gets killed, and then Lord Ruler kills Kelsier. That part was so sad. I couldn't get over it. It was just too much for my poor little soul to handle. It was like Allegiant. If you haven't read Allegiant, I don't even know where you've been. Triss dies. Kelsier gets killed, and he's like, "I am the hope of the people." and I will not die because hope won't die. And of course the Ska start rebellion. Vin goes into the castle because there's that 11th metal thing that Kelsier doesn't figure out how to use, but she's like, I think I know how to use it because it brings out the past of people. And Kelsier and Vin actually go on a raid earlier at the Lord Ruler's castle, and she gets this notebook even though they don't figure out like what's going on. She gets this notebook, and that's Lord Ruler's apparently writing. When she uses the 11th metal on Lord Ruler, she sees his past. She doesn't know how to use it, so she gets thrown into a cage, and then Sazed comes and saves her. She uses the 11th metal again. She figures out how to use it. She figures out that Lord Ruler is not a normal man with allomancy. He is a terrorist man. He killed the guy who was supposed to be the hero, and he became the ruler instead. He didn't defeat the darkness, or the deepness, the dark deepness. She figures out he's not an allomancer. He is a ferrochemist, and he needs the metals, but she has stronger powers than most allomancers have, so she pulls out his bracelets out of his hands, and that is where he keeps his youth, and that's how he has been alive for 1,000 years, and he dies. And then we find out that Marsh becomes an Inquisitor, and he saves Vin. Like, oh my goodness, Marsh didn't die, he's an Inquisitor. I was shocked. But anyways, I'm like rushing through this because the camera's about to die. But I love this book. It was amazing. Character development, world building. Oh my goodness. I love it so much. And I can't wait to read the next two right here. They're so beautiful, except they're not because I really don't like these covers. But that's okay. And thanks for watching. Subscribe. Comment what you thought of the book. Whether you liked it or you didn't like it. But I loved it. I give it 5 out of 5. On Goodreads, and I wrote a really long review on it on Goodreads, and then it all disappeared, so I didn't feel like writing it again. Bye!